of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So tonight we're going to recognize Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and we're going to have a proclamation that will be received by Kyle Spalding, who's a police service aide, and our dispatchers are the frontline people that hear you in distress the first time and know how to handle that. They dispatch 911 for the city of Plymouth and Plymouth Township combined. They also manage the jail for prisoners that are here for short periods of time. So, Chief, do you want to say something first or after?
I'd like to say it first.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Supervisor, Board, thank you. To start, Kyle, if you would like to step up here, please. Put you on the spot. I'd like to start by reading just a very quick poem, and the poem is called Just a Voice by Tracy Eldridge. You don't know who I am. To you, I am just a voice. It was me who took your frantic call when you had no other choice. I spent many hours waiting to help you when you're in need. Send help to me, please. Get them here is often what you plead. To do my job is complex, but only a few tools are a must. Put your faith in me, and I am the one that you can trust. My ears are a necessity, my mouth a mighty sword. I must use my ears to listen and then choreograph every word. I am the protector of this land. I take great pride in what I do. I am here to listen and do what is best for you. The day you place a call to me might be the worst day you've ever had. At least today you know I too are feeling bad. I take your problems with me. I know that's not so good. But as you felt your tragedy, it was by your side I stood. I walk with you to the door to let them in to help. I guide you to safety when all alone you felt. It is not often you hear praise or even simple thanks, but the cookies and cards are plenty through the police and fire ranks. The day you placed your call and I picked up the phone, I hope I made you feel safe and showed you that you were not alone. Remember who I am. I am not just a voice. I'm a 911 dispatcher you called when you had no other choice. So remember our 911 dispatchers. Very recently in November the 13th, our 911 dispatcher received a call from Judy. And Judy let us know that her, at the Bradbury condominiums, let us know that her condominium was on fire and she could not breathe. Our dispatchers took that information, immediately sent our police officers and our firefighters to that house. Our officers heroically went into the burning house, let our dispatcher know that they were going into a burning house, and pulled those two seniors out of the house and saved their lives. After that incident, I met with the dispatch team. They were in tears. They were so happy that the seniors were out, and they were so happy that their officers and firefighters were all out safe. So they take their job very, very seriously. Our team is led by our Director of Civilian Operations, Cindy Feld, who has not one but two master's degrees. She makes sure that we have the top equipment. Our request to the board is for the top equipment for our citizens and the top personnel that we go out there and recruit. So we are staffed at 100% right now. And we have, in my opinion, and I've worked for Farmington Hills Police and the University of Michigan, two top-notch organizations. We have a good as team as I've seen out there. So we appreciate what they do. And for this honor, Kyle, will you accept the award from the supervisor? dispatch team has a tough job, and they appreciate your acknowledgement, so thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Master's degrees, yeah.
One is public administration, and I think the other is communication.
Him?
No, Cindy fell.
Cindy Bell?
Yes.
Cindy has to?
Yes, too. Yes.
That poem was incredibly fitting, and you can tell it came from someone who lives it.
Did you write it?
I did not write it. It was a family member of a 911 dispatcher.
Very, very touching.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
I believe that your mother was living in that adjoining.
Yes.
So, saved more than just one person.
Yes.
And so there was 4 families that are in those quads, and so,
Yes.
so thanks to everyone, the police, the firemen, and the dispatchers.
Yes, sir.
So a quality check, is YouTube running? Does anybody know?
You had it running before
Okay.
before it started.
All right, good, that's good news. So approval of the agenda for April 8th.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, April 8th, 2025.
Second.
Second by,
Growth?
second by Growth. And we don't, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, approval of the consent agenda, and there is one change on 2. We have a date change for the appointment to the Planning Commission. The term ends on 6/30/2026, not 2027.
2026?
Yes, so
Okay.
What's the status with Dennis?
he's on the Planning Commission, still there. So he's there. And we need him, so I hope he stays there.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the consent agenda for April 28th, 2025, with the caveat that that date be changed to the 2026. And because there are resolutions that will need a roll call, so I moved it. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Growth. Clerk Vorba, yes. Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Growth?
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy?
Yes?
Trustee Clinton?
Yes.
Trustee Buckley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I just note that on those resolutions for the water main and the storm drain agreement, those forms just need to be updated in the Wayne County permit that reflects the name of Charles Kermy instead of Kurt Heisey. And it's something that we haven't had to do for 8 years, but it is something that we
Yes.
need to kind of stay on top of.
So who changes that, the engineer or the clerk?
Jeremy, do you have those forms like,
Usually have the forms.
yeah,
Yeah, I've got the easements. These easements were
Templates.
signed back in 2023.
Oh, they've already been signed.
Yeah, they've already been signed and executed. So what we do is, before we go to construction, we get the executed documents. That way, in case anything happens, they build the water main, but they don't finish the rest of the work. We've got the legal right to go in and, maintain and operate that main. So
Right.
these have been executed for a couple of years.
So they do not need to be changed right now? Okay, perfect. I'd like Dan Callahan to just come to the podium and introduce himself. You don't need to make a speech, you can just say who you are. Dan Callahan is a retired Ford engineer and a Vietnam War veteran of the Marines, right?
Yes, sir.
Semper Fi.
Super fine. I'm Daniel Callahan. I've been a resident for 24 years at Plymouth Township, married with 2 children and 6 grandchildren. As Chuck said, I was with the Ford Motor Company for 42 years. I retired as a powertrain quality engineer. I did a lot of troubleshooting in the States and in 30 other countries for Ford. It would be a privilege to serve our community on the Planning Commission. I bring my experience and my discipline of problem solving. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Here's your homework.
Oh, no.
Time to get to work.
Wow.
So you're going to be sworn in, stick around, you'll be sworn in by Jerry before we go into closed session. and the meeting is a week from Wednesday, April 16th. Not tomorrow, right? It's April 16th.
Right.
Yeah, a week from tomorrow.
Is there a requirement for planning commission members to attend like the 2-day training or the online training with MTA? Just for an understanding.
We have Michigan State has probably the best introductory training. It's $250, and we'll get you, Laura Hall will get you signed up for that. We have a couple of people that are taking it right now. Has it started?
It's on demand.
Oh, it's on
Yeah, it's
demand.
on demand, yeah.
Okay, so that makes it easy.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Congratulations, Dan.
So Chuck, now for the planning commission, are we still down
No.
with one, or we're
Full.
completely full?
We have
Well,
7 people.
I understand, I thought somebody just resigned.
Resigned, they did, and Dan is filling that through June 30th of 2026. Wow, my microphone isn't on. That's Barbarina,
Barbarina, yeah,
Kendra Barbarina.
yeah.
Served for 25 years, did a great job. Wish she was still there.
Yeah, she'll be
So
missed.
does that mean Dan's gonna be the secretary? Isn't that what Kendra was?
Yeah,
I think
that's
they-
a good question.
Well, but you'll point, won't you?
Well, he's probably too inexperienced to do that.
I just thought I would try to
Somebody's
put
got
it
to
on
do
him.
it.
All right, well, all right, we'll see. Although it tends to be a little bit, the recording secretary does most of the work,
Yes.
right? Usually the secretary is when you have a finding of fact, they go through the facts in a
According to the official vote.
in a methodical order so that there is a legal binding of the decision. Okay, so consent agenda, we've got just those, take a look at those reports. And by the way, you got a special report that came from the fire chief about HOA using our first algorithm look.
HBA?
Excuse me, HVA, not HOA. All right, so we only have now comments on non-agenda items. There is a sign-in sheet there on the corner by the police chief. You can sign in first, so we don't have to wait while you sign in, if there's more than one person that's going to speak. So, non-agenda items.
Do I give you,
Pardon?
did I what? Do I give you a copy of this if I wanted it in the,
Goes to Jerry.
I'm sorry?
Usually goes to Jerry.
Oh, okay. Do I pass it down or anything? I don't know. I'm sorry. So my name is Stacy Romine. I'm a township resident, and I've been here for about 36 years. I wanted to talk about the senior center. There's been some information shared recently. My guess is that the board's familiar with the recent Click on Detroit article that was published about the Township Friendship Station and its critical financial situation. And I'm going to read because I get nervous, so please bear with me for no eye contact. The article caught my attention when it was posted on Facebook. There was a range of comments that followed. Some of them seemed kind of constructive. Some of the others appeared a little bit more critical. I'm not personally familiar with the Friendship Station or Plymouth Community Council on Aging and how it connects to the township operations or services. Since the situation was shared widely with the metro area, rather than debating on social media, I'm hoping the board members might be able to comment and shed some light on the situation directly to the community through the meeting here, and then also maybe the folks that are listening. I've jotted down a few questions to ask openly to the board members, please. I'd like to read these and then invite any comments that you might like to make tonight, or perhaps maybe ask if you could share some specifics in the future. That'd be great. So my questions, the first one is, what is the current relationship between the township and the PCCA, both formally and informally? Can you share what kind of support, financial or otherwise, the township has provided or provides ongoing? For example, the article mentions the township provides some block grant funding, and there's commentary on social media that also says that the township has paid for certain capital projects and assets. The third question is, are there any concerns with the Friendship Station property that the community should be aware of? The article mentions that the PCCA doesn't own the building, so is there a risk of any foreclosure, any rezoning discussions, or anything else that might create some angst within that organization? The fourth question is, what has changed? The article mentions that the PCCA has been around for nearly 50 years, so what has changed to bring about the urgent financial situation at this point? The fifth question, and I promise there's only one more after this, the article says that the PCCA is not eligible for federal funds because it is a nonprofit. So are there any state-level resources or contacts that we might be able to suggest, or are there any best practice suggestions from other communities that the board might be able to suggest that can help with fundraising or keep the PCCA sustainable for our community? And then the last question is, are there any other thoughts or ideas that you'd want to share about this to the residents who may want to help protect this community resource? So thank you very much for your time and listening, and for any information you can share. And that took like 2 minutes at home and a lot longer here, sorry.
Okay, I'll go ahead
And I'll step
answer.
down and
I'm going to violate all the rules that they say about meetings, but to answer questions from the podium. Normally, they'd say, don't do it, but I'm going to do it. Number one is the building is owned by Plymouth Township. It was purchased with federal money in about 1982, predominantly federal money. The township pays for all of the maintenance and upgrades. In fact, we're doing some minor upgrades, like some new faucets in the last couple of weeks. We've invested over $600,000 in the last 15 years in there for various upgrades. The last one was a patio. So we are committed to that. Federal money is allowed to be given. In fact, it runs on federal money, is the Council on Aging. We get about a $20,000 grant each year from Region 1A. It's a federal program. We split it $8,500 for transportation and $11,000 for programming. The city of Plymouth pays about 60% of the senior transportation. Since it's a Council on Aging is a 501c3, Plymouth Township, like any township, cannot legally contribute to any 501c3. Can't contribute to a lot of things. You can't contribute to veterans. You can't buy flowers for a deceased employee of the township. It's just not allowed. So the building is completely a separate operation. Plymouth Township pays for all of the heat and maintenance. There is no chance it's going to be taken over by anybody else. There's no zoning issues. In fact, we're seeking a grant to improve the parking lot drainage. Don't know whether that'll happen, but it's possible because the parking lot can flood in heavy rains because of the way it's designed. So the reason why things have changed is the Council on Aging has spent most of their ARPA money, so they were a little flush with cash for a while. My judgment is this will have to be, the employee who runs the program is not an employee of the Plymouth Township. She's an employee of Council on Aging. So their money has also been dwindled because United Way has reduced their allocation, because United Way is receiving fewer funds. They do a lot of great things. We need to think about what we're going to do. I'm not ready to sign up and say we're going to use taxpayer money to fund it. We need to see if United Way or some other fundraising can be injected. I also look to the users that I hope that they would contribute to more of their dues and or outright contributions. Like many of these people have RMDs from their IRAs. Maybe they can, which then are contributed tax-free. I'm looking for some groundswell of support in the community. This is too early to be doing anything radical other than trying to save it now.
But do we charge them rent?
No,
I thought I remember her saying that in the video.
no.
That
We
they
don't
couldn't pay
charge
their
them rent. In fact, we give them the $8,500 from our $20,000 grant that we received from the
county,
county. From the county through the federal
Through the-
government.
yeah.
So they're getting directly federal money.
So
So
I thought you said we couldn't contribute to them, but then you
Plymouth
said
Township
something-
cannot,
we
but the
ca-
federal
okay.
government can,
Okay,
and they are.
but you were saying something about too early for to talk about taxpayers.
Well,
doing
some people
anything.
have suggested that we come up with the money in some way, either by hiring that employee and paying them out of the township general fund. My judgment is it's too early to be doing that. Our ridership for the senior transportation is plunging. People don't want to ride it, so they want to hang on to their cars, I guess. There needs to be some work done. We don't, for example, Meals on Wheels, there's no one in Plymouth Township that is using Meals on Wheels, according to the Council on Aging report that they sent out. So
guess
we're not
I
big
appre- I-
users.
yeah. I
Anyway,
appreciate
so
it.
that's the
Thank you.
background. I hope I answered all of the questions. There's not a silver bullet, but I really think the users also need to step up and continue to pay dues, or apparently there's a good chunk of people that don't necessarily pay dues. I don't know if that's true.
I don't even know how they're structured, honestly. I appreciate the information. I know my neighbor, for example, goes to the Westland Senior Center. and she
Westland's
enjoys
different.
that. There's so that, and I've heard Livonia has a really thriving
Very
one.
different.
And so I don't know if there's different business models that we could suggest
There
to
it is,
them.
he said it, it's a city, which has different rules for
Okay.
They
funding.
can
They
do
make it
whatever
part
they
of their
want,
recreation.
Yeah, exactly.
basically.
Okay, okay. Thank you. I wanted to hopefully get some info out so that folks didn't kind of debate on social media. That'd be great.
Hang on. I'm reminded of the saying on the wall in my law office, have patience and you will be a winner. My mother wrote that to me in 1957. Clearly, with the Sprayscape opening tonight, with $52,000 from the Perlongo family. We are the winners, and we've saved $250,000. It was budgeted. Now, that's just a precedent. That's just a pattern. I find it a little intriguing that you think that I never listened to a planning commission tape until this past week that was provided to me by Mr. Zantow. Who called Click on Detroit and said the sky is falling?
The seniors.
The users.
Who called Click on Detroit and cried wolf? I'm reminded of the nursery stories, the nursery tales of crying wolf and the sky is falling. When nothing, but that is nothing further from the truth.
And that's,
Now, I talked to Bobby Pummel for 20 minutes. Then she said, John, I got to go. I got to continue my conversation with Supervisor Kermey. We've been working on this for hours and hours and hours.
okay.
So let's set the record straight.
What are you
Who's
talking about?
calling wolf?
What wolf?
Who's calling that the sky is falling? Who's saying the building's going to be closed? That is a lie.
Well,
That is a bald-faced lie.
it's
And all-
not being
Done
said.
for a purpose, done for a motive.
For me?
No, not from you. Not you're an angel.
No, I'm
You're
absolutely
you're
not.
an- you're-
My nickname
you're an
is Pain in
angel.
the Ass,
You're an
but-
angel sent here to enlighten.
So I appreciate your comments. I knew it had gotten out broadly.
Kurt-
It was in the community. I was just hoping to see if you guys had anything you wanted to
Yeah, I-
comment on and help us understand what was, I don't know enough about it, and I just want to get in front of
Supervisor
it.
Kermey just stated a hardcore factual situation.
My only comment is, I was caught off guard by that. I didn't know that that was happening. They have two problems. They have a short-term problem for funding the rest of the year, and they have a long-term problem for sustainability, and we need to fix that. The senior center is a Friendship Station is a very valuable resource in the community, and we need to find a way to keep it open. But I
Sounds
don't know
kinda
what the
complicated.
answer is. So there's no intent to close it.
So thank you for coming in and
Okay,
asking
well,
the questions.
thanks for your time.
May I speak?
Yes.
I was planning tonight to ask us to schedule a study session about this particular issue, primarily because the issue is threefold. It is transportation is an issue, senior programs is an issue at the Friendship Station, and then the coordination and oversight of senior programs is another issue. And in light of the public information that's out there, I thought it would be beneficial if we as a board could have them come in and give us a presentation so that we all understand exactly what the issues are that are going on, so that we can start, as you said, Bob, start looking at, we have to find solutions, but I think first we need to understand that they're three separate entities. The seniors are confused because they don't understand that the Friendship Station is owned by the township, or they know about PCCA, which is really the funding issue at this point in time. So I just wanted to request that we have a study session to look at all of those things.
Why don't we let the supervisor do his
Because-
traditional job and come back with a summary in a month?
Because they're threatening to close because they don't have the money to pay the funds for the coordinator of
They're
the
not gonna
senior
close in the
program.
next 30 days.
Yeah, they are, actually. It's pretty serious. I've talked to them. Well, I just want to finish saying what I
Okay,
was
well,
saying.
it's hard for me to stand here.
Said 6
I'm
months.
handicapped.
All right, well, we'll get into it. There's a short-term situation, but I really urged the people who are using it to step up for the short term. And I hope they will.
So,
Go ahead.
anyways, I was at the Friendship Station today, and there was a doctor there that gave a real nice presentation on diabetics and going blind. He really did a good job. And I talked to Bobby Pummel, and they're doing, Homeland Security is going to be there on Thursday, and I think it's a good idea for a lot of people to show up there. Every day, we're getting scams on our phones and things, and it's really getting serious. And I think it's a good idea. She asked if I could try to get people to come there on Thursday. Thank you.
What time?
It's at, I believe it's at 11. 10 a.m. It's at 10?
10 a.m. on Schoolcraft Road.
The chief will be there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Hello, Board. I signed it. I'm Dale Bernhardt. Today is April 8th, 2025. 1 year from today, April 8th, 2026, the Eastern District Michigan Federal Court, with a jury, will render its decision on Northville Downs' $10 million plus lawsuit versus Plymouth Township. So my question is, I think we're kind of running out of time here. Have any depositions been taken? Has any discovery process taken place? My question is, if not, why not, and when? We'll get to that. Former Supervisor Heisey is a material witness. Has he been called to give facts surrounding the lawsuit? Now, here's my main question. Who's representing the residents? As you know, the residents worked well over a year in opposition to the racetrack. The residents spent time, energy, and money to stop Northville Downs, which is a gambling site. Now, if this lawsuit takes place and we are found the township responsible, who do you think is going to be responsible for that money? It's us. We had nothing to do with it. Some of the members of the board and the planning commission did. So I want to know who is going to represent the citizens, the residents of Plymouth Township. Residents should not be held financially responsible for any payment or reward to Northville Downs, since the residents opposed this relocation right at the beginning. Mr. Heisey and Mr. Heitman, the former Economic Development Coordinator under Heisey, should be held 100% responsible. It has been stated by Matt Zielinski, the Plymouth Township attorney, defending the township in this lawsuit, that time is on our side because the property will be sold. Not the case. Unfortunately, the property is not going to be sold because there's a lawsuit over it. Nobody's going to buy that piece of property. So again, I ask, who is representing the residents of Plymouth Township in this lawsuit? Because the clock is ticking. Mr. Zielinski, are you able to answer that? Mr. Bennett?
It's the board's job and my job
Gotcha.
to represent the interests of Plymouth Township with the assistance of the attorney paid for by our insurance company. And that's Matt Zielinski. He's in the room tonight, but not for this reason, not for this case.
Okay.
And
well,
everything's been delayed 90 days. It's been rescheduled. So I think some discovery may have happened. They've done a lot of email subpoenas from both McKenna and Plymouth Township. I know that. Other than that, I don't know anybody who's been deposed.
Well, I urge this board and supervisor to please keep the residents in mind with this, because we spent a lot of time and effort and money on this. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
But to correct, there's going to be no decision on that date. I don't know where that came from. It may be
Well,
the
April
beginning.
7th is the beginning of the trial.
Yeah, so no decision is going to be made then.
If there is a
I
trial.
thought the decision was supposed to be made
No.
by April 8th of
No, no.
2026.
No.
The trial starts April 7th, if we have a trial.
And if they don't push it again.
Yeah.
But it will take a matter of days or weeks to have a trial. My judgment is, these cases typically don't have trials, but who knows?
What are policy limits and what's the status of the attorney fees?
I don't have that memorized, but attorney fees have been paid by the insurance company, and they're thousands of dollars already. They put out a report once a month.
Yeah.
What is our liability policy limits?
Over 100, the first 100,000 is paid for typically by the township. So I could call it a deductible, but it's not, it has another name.
Okay.
A reserve or something like that. And then after that, it becomes the judgment of the insurance adjuster and the attorney on how to manage the case and what the value of the case is. There's a lot of moving parts, and I'm not an attorney, so I can't tell you, you're an attorney, you know all the moving parts.
No, I do not know. I'm not acquainted with this. And besides, I believe in full disclosure, and this should be put on record. What are the policy limits of liability for a township? This is a public record.
Yeah, essentially, there's not a cap, but it depends on the adjuster and the attorney's judgment. Because attorneys, and mainly insurance companies, typically don't want to suffer unlimited losses. So they could pressure you and say, hey, this is the best deal. If you want to go on your own, you're on your own after this, and we'll pay up to this amount. That can happen. Hopefully it won't.
I mean, the ideal is that someone, this angel buyer would come along, but that was in a good market. We are not in a foreseeable good market. We're in a foreseeable mild recession. So I don't see the likelihood of a $10 million buyer coming along with a check that will clear the bank.
And I don't know, I cannot figure out how to mitigate that or predict what a buyer will do. It's a great piece of property that's a turnkey. It has roads, it has sewer and water. It has no utility, no electricity and gas directly, but it's ready to go. In fact, World of Stone had an approved site plan, and they were going to move there. They had a tax abatement from Plymouth Township.
That's right.
And they aborted the project. So somebody could buy one of those 9 lots or 8 lots, because the triangle, the 9th lot, is not part of the Northville Downs property. That's a triangle bounded by the railroad tracks, 5 Mile and Ridge. So it's pretty turnkey. So if the United States is experiencing the largest factory building boom since the mid-1960s.
That's correct.
We're in the manufacturing region of the world. Unfortunately, it worries me, we're not getting any of this, and it's been going on for over 2 years. So hopefully that will turn and we will get some factory building. Very few factories have been built in southeast Michigan and Michigan in general in the last 2 years, compared with places like Tennessee, Kentucky. Texas. So there is a manufacturing boom going on that started well before the election and the current presidential administration. So I'm hoping we get some spin-off from that here, because that's what is suited there. Technology, research, light manufacturing, or supporting light manufacturing through R&D or engineering laboratories, engineering sales offices, those kinds of things, test labs. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that somebody's going to show up.
Because it is improved property. I mean, it's.
Oh, it's very improved.
Very
There's
improved.
a lot of
It's-
money in
It's
there. valuable
valuable already by the amount and design of the improvements.
Okay, let's go to closed
So,
session.
all right. No, we don't want to go closed session yet. We want to go to the.
We have
He's got one
we have
more.
one other gentleman.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sign in, or you already did?
I signed.
This guy has a trademark, always in black.
For years.
Oski.
I did sign it. Good evening, my name is Roman Benson, and on January 14th, 2025, I attended a meeting and put in my first request for a discussion to talk about opening a store in Plymouth Township. Unfortunately, after some awkward long silences and a few unanswered voicemails, Supervisor Chuck Kermy did respond and left me a voicemail and just told me no. I was a little miffed because I said no explanation, no nothing, so I figured why not? I'll try again. I'm here again this evening to put in a second request, verbally and in writing, to ask the board to allow me to do a presentation on opening up a new business, our family business in this community. I'm asking that everyone in the community and the board revisit, reopen, reconsider, or maybe just expand your thinking of why a small family-owned business with a long history and future in the Plymouth area should open up a business here in the community. Now, a couple of things do come to mind. I do understand that you're not against business, so we'll get that off the table. I can only guess it's maybe the nature of the business. We do want to open up a cannabis adult use retail store. Call it a marijuana store, whatever you want to call it. It's for any adult that's 21 years of age and wants to purchase. Now, I know you're not against businesses, because I know basically if you drive up and down the city or in the township, you do have liquor stores. Even though a bunch of people will tell you, I don't drink, that's fine, but you do have liquor stores. They're just not customers of the liquor store. I know you drive up and down the roads, you see tobacco shops, smoke shops, and vape shops. A lot of people will tell you, I don't smoke, I don't participate in that. That's fine. You're not their customers, but they do exist and they serve the needs of a community. You have pharmacies that dole out prescription drugs. You could sit there and say, listen, I don't do prescription drugs. I don't take that synthetic poison, but they exist and they do exist and people partake and enjoy them. You could put the blame on candy stores. Well, listen, I hate candy stores. They're poison, it's sugar, etc. I don't want anything to do with it. But they do exist. Fast food restaurants exist, even though your objection might be, it's poisonous. They exist. Heck, now granted, Lover's Lane is in the city, but if you've got a little spiciness, you want to do something different in private, you're not going to be prohibited from going to Lover's Lane because it's your choice. You're 21. You go in there and visit it, no matter if you are taking the puritanical moral high ground. In the end, and a cannabis store is designed for people that are 21 years of age and older, and that's why I'm here this evening. I know you're not against new business. You can't be against property tax revenue or business tax and licensing, local hiring. Well, let's bring out the fact we have the only business that has a very generous stipend that gives the community back money for letting them operate at least one store.
On an average, the community gets about $60,000 a year from participating. Now, I was here today just to open this up as a public comment to discuss this, and pretty much I know the clock didn't start ticking, but I have this time down to about 3 minutes, but I just wanted to bring out the obvious before I speak again in the next public comment. Wayne County in 2018, 61% of the people voted, yes, let's do it. City of Plymouth, 60% of the voters said, yes, let's do it in 2018. And in 2018, Plymouth Township got a majority. 51% of the people said, let's do it. Now, this happened in 2018. If you were to do that same study today and just ask people what do they think, you'd be surprised, you'd be close to 90%. So yes, there are liquor stores. Yes, there are candy stores. There's fast food. No matter what your objection is, you don't become a customer if you don't believe in it. You just move on somewhere else. We're trying to open up a business in the community and participate in the community and make it a long-term play. Thank you.
Thank you.
Funding for the Friendship Station.
Oh, my goodness.
Pardon?
It's not working like you planned.
What's that?
The time to sign.
I had no intention of speaking, but I have raised 5 children, and I have heard the arguments of 5 teenagers along with their friends. And that's what I heard, was teenage arguments as to why we should have something in our community. It's fine to say you don't have to go there if you don't want to. However, I have been extremely injured. I don't know, they didn't breathalyze the person who rear-ended us at about 40 miles an hour at a stop sign. Nobody breathalyzed her, but you are jeopardizing anyone who gets on the road because you want to bring this into our community. We just drove out to New Hampshire for me to be a confirmation sponsor for my granddaughter, and you see signs along the way.
Talk to us.
I'm sorry, I'm not really talking to anyone. I'm trying to do this in my head. We saw signs to report people basically under the influence of drugs. I assume this is a drug. And so it's irresponsible of you to come here and want to bring something that could be deadly into our community. If someone has cancer, and I've seen this with a neighbor, they could only tolerate marijuana brownies. It brought them comfort as they were dying. That's understandable. But don't make people die because you want a business. That's just my personal experience, and thank you. And I'm sorry I wasn't prepared for this.
Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to the new business agenda, which is the sprayscape fix. Jeremy and I will tee this up through some diligence of the engineering company, Jeremy, and me, of trying to find a better solution. We found a local contractor also. This will save $250,000 to $300,000 below what was budgeted, and there is a chance it will open, we're not committing, before Memorial Day. The critical path is probably getting the raw materials. So if we approve this tonight, which I hope you do, it's an expenditure of $51,000 to dig about a 30-foot trench, put 8-inch pipe in it, and connect to an existing line using 2 gate valves that will allow us to control what goes to the storm sewer during the off-season and what goes to the sanitary sewer during the season that it's used. So this water will essentially go into the sanitary sewer and be treated at Ypsilanti like every other sewer. This fix will raise the operating costs $25,000 to $30,000 since we have to pay for sewer disposal, where in the past, we paid about $30,000 for water only because the water went into the creek. But it was judged by the state regulating agency, Eagle, that it is harmful to fish because of the chlorine level. And so this is the fix. I wish it was lower cost, but I think that we've demonstrated that patience, like what John said, and cooler heads prevailed. It's too bad that this became somewhat of a hot button, but I think that we are reaching a decision that will work for years to come with very simple, there's no electrical equipment. It's a very simple fix, which means that means fewer things can go wrong with it and fewer mistakes happen. So Jeremy, take us through these, what you have to say, and the quotes, and what makes this a beautiful solution.
Yeah, so I think you did a great tee up there of the reason why.
Speak up.
Yeah. You gave us a great tee up there of a reference why we're doing this. We're doing this because of our MPDES permit. The requirements require us to discharge our sprayscape to the sanitary sewer, or, you know, essentially there's a number of other methods to do it that were significantly more expensive, but this project is going to eliminate the need for the MPDES permit. So essentially we're going to be able to terminate after this because our new discharge is going to be to the sanitary sewer. So originally we were looking at a couple 100 feet of pipe. What we found was an existing sanitary sewer lead that goes to that restroom facility. We're able to TV that and inspect that and verify that it's got the capacity to handle this new discharge. And we rerouted the storm sewer discharge directly to it. So we've got a valve chamber there, and the valve chamber just uses simple gate valves to control when it goes to the sanitary and when it goes to the storm sewer. So we put it out to 4 different contractors, 2 of which are under contract currently with Plymouth Township through different elements, and 2 of which who are local contractors, and received 3 bids back. All of them were favorable to the township, and so we're recommending approval of Perlongo at the 51,000 number.
So Jeremy, the budget request here says 350. It was actually $300,000 was the actual thing. But just because you approve that amount of money doesn't mean that you necessarily spend that amount of money. And the discovery you made this time could have been discovered otherwise, even under a different administration. Is that not correct? You would have done due diligence, correct?
I like to think so, that I
Thank you.
always do due diligence.
So I'm glad that it's being fixed, but that is information that needs to be disclosed to the public, so you don't think that there's this big windfall. I believe that due diligence would have discovered this the same way. Now, are we, no, you're saying it's coming from, there's a line coming from the bathroom of that,
Next to the train station.
next to the train station, okay. So that's and so there's gonna be no fear of any kind of,
Backup.
from the
No,
toilet
that's
facilities?
part of what took the due diligence, was being able to inspect that sewer,
Okay.
make sure there was no defects, make sure there was capacity from a volume
Okay,
perspective.
that was
It outlets to a 24-inch sewer, and it's
Okay.
not that far away, so it's.
Okay,
yeah.
that was just one concern. And so
24 inches is a huge sewer.
it's
for
a
that.
huge sewer line, it certainly is. And so you feel that we'll get a permit under this program?
I've already talked to Eagle about it, and Eagle agreed with our solution, and we already turned in paperwork for notice of termination of our MPDES
Good.
permit.
So we don't need a permit, is what he said.
Okay.
We're terminating the old one.
Old one.
And we don't need a new one because it's a direct connection
Okay.
to the sanitary sewer.
Good. I do have some disclosures for the board about this vote. I have lived in the community for 51 years, and probably the only person that's been here longer is you, maybe Sandy. But in 51 years, I've known a lot of people. And so I've known the Palongo family for many, many years. When I was a police officer, I did have a relationship with one of the female members of the Prolongo family.
You mean a romantic one?
Yes, and I also had real estate transactions with the Prolongo family, hundreds of thousands of dollars. They have allowed me, when I was running for city commissioner, when I was running for state rep, when I was running for this office, they have different members of the family have allowed me to place political signs on their different properties. I have received political contributions, and so I wanted to make that a full disclosure before there's any vote, and I would like to inform the public and the board that notwithstanding what may seem to a lot of people some exceptional and different relationships with the Polanco family, that I know that I can give an honest vote and not be influenced by any of those things. But I wanted to make those disclosures because I want to be upfront about all those things. And then I would ask, of course, a parliamentary question that I think that I can give an honest vote and not be influenced by all that history.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, this is, it's also the lowest bidder. I don't think there's any sort of
Yeah.
preference that's being made. Appreciate the
Well,
disclosure,
I just wanted
though.
full disclosure because other people have been around for a long time. They know that I've had this long-standing relationship with the family. I didn't want someone to say, oh, Vorva didn't disclose it. And so I'm just doing full disclosure just to alleviate that possibility that someone would try to.
Okay, to get, Mr. Supervisor, to get to the point, Plymouth Township should be proud to work with the Prolongo Excavating, which you and I have known them for at least 4 decades. And they're kind of like a developer like Ron Cook. I mean, the man's word is golden. Is there enough room in this contract for you to, perhaps if they need an add-on, or is there a performance bonus that they finish on or before Memorial Day? Is that in a provision in the contract?
I don't think there's no performance bonus. They'll post a bond, and they have insurance. This job is not what you call complex or rocket science.
Okay.
It's not real difficult. So sometimes smaller companies are not able to do certain jobs because they're too complex, and then they end up running up the engineering bill because there's too much babysitting. That's not gonna happen here because the job is it's almost equivalent to a sewer lead in your front yard at 30 feet.
Ready for a motion?
Well, just curious, if I talk with other members of the community, will part of the park be closed down and inaccessible during that?
Not very much
Just the
closed down, but
bathroom and,
Yeah, there's gonna be a section, now there's a sidewalk that goes around the area. So the part of the sidewalk leading up to the restroom will be closed for a short period of time while we construct that lead, because the main is in between, it's kind of in that island in between the sidewalks to the bathroom. But otherwise
can
it'll
they
be
go
open.
around
They can
that
go around
building
it.
and still go to the park?
Yep, they can go around that, and like Chuck said, it's not a very long duration. We're talking probably a couple weeks once we get materials and whatnot.
Ready for a motion?
Okay.
Yes, also, Jen, you misspoke when you said that Prolongo was donating this. We're paying them. They're not donating the 50.
Oh, I didn't say donating.
Well, I thought I heard that, but
No,
all
no,
right.
no, no, I didn't say donating.
All right, okay.
Heaven, no, this is a business contract.
yes,
And you
okay.
feel, I'm trying to make sure that you feel comfortable enough to oversee and to ask for accountability.
Okay,
Yeah, go
Mr.
ahead.
Supervisor.
Okay, I'll be glad to offer the motion.
Bob's doing
Move to
it.
adopt.
Bob's doing it.
Resolution
can
number
second.
2025-04-08-33, authorizing the Board of Trustees to approve the award of the Township Sprayscape Discharge Correction Project to, what's it, Prolongo
Yes.
Excavation LLC in the amount of $51,030.
Second.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Trustee Stewart,
Yes.
Trustee Clinton,
Yes.
Trustee Buckley,
Yes.
Trustee Groth.
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Well done.
Yes, good job.
Very well done.
Good, thank you. So we'll, because we're going into closed session.
Can we do Callahan's swearing in, maybe?
Yeah, we're gonna do that too, but don't we have to do,
Comments?
comments, and then comments from citizens, and then comments from us before we go into closed session?
We can do it that way.
Well, I've been advised it's gonna be a short closed session, so why don't we do public comments afterwards?
Well, no,
So
let's
that
do, people are here, let's do it that way. Let's do it the way you
Whatever they wanna do.
suggested.
Okay, let's try that way. Okay, public comments on any item right now. You start the clock. Let's see.
Hey guys, Bill Pine, 47-year resident. This is short, I didn't plan to say anything, but it's great to see common sense emerging in the township. 50 grand sounds a lot better than 300 grand. Thank you, Chuck. I like the tenor of the meeting where the residents, the bosses, have a chance to say something. Chuck, I like the idea. I know you're breaking the rules and maybe you shouldn't do it, but I like the idea of getting input when you're talking to the folks because these are the folks that really matter. And Bob, you're always talking about having cordial discussions. When you have the two-way like that, from my experience, that's frequently going to be more the case because folks have a chance to do that. But anyways, it's great to see this. With regard to the Friendship Station, Bobby's great. It would be great if we can support her. One of the challenges is going to be to think outside the box. Maybe you get sponsorships from some of the rich guys in the township. There are folks in the neighborhood or in the audience who know some of those folks. Maybe we could make it, Jerry, maybe we could make it the early voting station. You could be a hero. But in any event, thank you. Please keep up the trend.
Thank you.
I don't smoke, I don't swear. I mean, yes, I do swear once in a while. I don't smoke, I don't drink, but I'm not going to do marijuana. And this gentleman says that he thinks that 90% of the people in this community are going to vote for marijuana. I don't believe that. So, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, come back for a second round.
Yes, please.
We're timing to this time.
Absolutely. Since this is a public comment, I can only address objections as they're brought up out of respect to the rules of the committee. A couple of objections were brought up casually and by some of the community. I'll address them individually within the time allotted frame. At the last meeting, the topic of a gateway drug theory was brought up and how it's dangerous. Now, the hypocrisy of how you can be okay with liquor stores, beer, wine, pharmacies, cigarettes, cigar shops, etc., amazes me that you're relating that to the cannabis industry, but that's my own personal feeling. I'm not here to criticize anybody. I'm here to educate people and explore things with them. That's all we're doing. Gateway drug theory. 1936, the US government, with some mild pressure from the pharmaceutical industry, created a propaganda film. They called it Reefer Madness, under the guise of a public service announcement. That's how they got around the rules. 89 years later, we're still quoting the same damn things out of that film. Now, there's a show on cable called Fact versus Fiction. I love it, fact, fiction, and unfortunately, as time goes on, fiction rules because it's popular. Here's the fact. No scientific studies, no independent studies, no credible studies have conclusively proven or shown a causal relationship between using marijuana and making you jump to the next level. Gateway drug theory is a myth, doesn't exist. Supervisor Chuck Kermy brought up some casual objections. Crime, people, the banks don't want to do business with you. Let's go back to fact versus fiction. When the business first started, you're right, we had a hell of a time finding banks to do business with us. That was at the beginning. Today, there are abundant of banks that do business with us. Banks but you just don't know they do it because they've set up separate divisions and created divisions within the bank that specifically deals with the cannabis industry. They don't promote it to you guys because you're not interested. They promote it to us in the industry. That being said, proudly today, we accept cash, checks, cards, and I do my business banking like everyone else. I go and make a deposit, and we pay our bills out of a bank. Crime, Again, fact versus fiction. To this day, there is no empirical evidence to directly support any link, positive or negative, between marijuana dispensaries and crime is at its best quite limited. We're no different than any other cash business. Beer, liquor, jewelry, gas station with ATMs. If you visit one of our stores, you'll be surprised that the security system is better than most federal banks. I can address objections openly here. I can stick around afterward. I'll continue to be a nuisance and come to every Tuesday meeting and address concerns and comments. Thank you.
I urge you to, here's a good source of information. A group called Smart Approaches to Marijuana. Check them out.
I will, thank you.
Smart Approaches to Marijuana. They do a lot of research. They are established by a physician, and they do a lot of, obviously, speaking around the country.
I have a question. Sir? Yeah. When it comes to marijuana use, can you describe exactly what the goal is for you as a business retailer? Is the goal for you to sell marijuana to people that are coming in? What is your goal for them? Is it recreational?
No, it's adult
So-
use in the state of Michigan is recreational.
So how do you define recreational? Is
21
there,
years of age and older.
no, I'm talking about what is the intent of the use? Is it to get high?
It's recreational usage. Why do you go to the liquor store?
Because I enjoy alcohol, but I don't go to get drunk. So my question to you is, can you have marijuana without getting high? Really? I think that's an
Again,
incorrect
I
statement.
don't know what the rules are here for speaking. Respectfully, everybody has intensities. You go to your liquor store, Michelob Ultra light, super light, dark beer, craft beer, Scotch that's 40 years old, Scotch that's 30 years old. There's different intensities. You go to the liquor store, you buy yourself some booze, you relax. You go buy to a tobacco shop, Marlboro Lights, Marlboro Ultra Lights, Newports, intensities. What's your pleasure? You're 21, you make that decision. You decide you want to go to the cigar shop. Do I want a short one? Do I want a long one? Do I want one from Nicaragua? Do I want one from Cuba? Intensities. You come to a marijuana store, you're buying it. You're buying it for recreational. Yes, you want to get high and relax. I have severe and chronic pain. I want to get rid of the pain. I want to sleep at night because I can't sleep because I have neuropathy. A lady brought up a very good point. I'm dying of cancer. I need a little bit of relaxation. There's a spectrum. It's a cannabis store. You're 21. You walk in, you make your purchase, and you leave. End of story. No different than liquor, tobacco.
I think
lovers night,
it's very
cannabis
different,
store,
and you
fast
know
food.
it.
You make a
It's
decision.
very different, and you know it.
All right, let's finish with the people that want to speak.
Thank you. Mary Pine, 4 points, if I can remember them all now. One, I turned my phone off of airplane mode. I looked at NIH, National Institute of Health, quickly got an article by Arthur Robin Williams, Cannabis as a Gateway Drug for Opioid Use Disorder. Okay, number one. Number two, the banks are hiding. Apparently, if you have an institution like a bank hiding that they're funding an activity, that should be a red flag. I'm probably going to not be able to remember the next. The mention of you can have, I don't drink alcohol, I don't do drugs, I don't do any of this, but I do know that if a person, anybody takes a certain medicine, people's bodies are different. Nobody's selling marijuana knows how a person's body is going to react to it, just like medicine. That's why if it's done medically, it can be monitored. So if you're saying people are going there, they have cancer and they're dying, and I've sadly had to be aware of this with a neighbor, they had to work through what was going to work for them. And I understand that if it's medically, it's necessary, and then it should be monitored. So you're going to sell it to people who don't know how their body's going to react to it, and then you're going to have people put at risk. I've been at Myers, and the clerk and I were like, whoa, I know what marijuana smells like. I went to the University of Michigan and graduated in 1971. So I knew. So I was very hesitant, like, I don't want to drive by this person, and they shouldn't have been driving. Those are just some points that I can now remember after waiting here, and I apologize. I am a better speaker if I've thought about it and written it down, so thank you.
Stacy Romine, thank you for your comments. My only feedback from what I was hearing is that suggesting that there's lack of empirical evidence isn't the same as saying that there's empirical evidence of the contrary. So because there's no evidence that marijuana isn't a gateway drug or empirical studies to suggest those types of things doesn't mean that there's empirical evidence to say that contrary. So that's a frustration with me, that we have to have a study to suggest one thing, and if it doesn't suggest that, then it suggests the opposite. That isn't true. I fully support CBD, pure CBD. There are CBD plants that have like the minutest amount of THC in them. I support them very strongly for pain relief, anxiety relief, sleep support. I have a friend whose mother has dementia, and it helps calm her. There's little to no THC in it. That to me is a solution, and I'm fine with that. But the marijuana for me is just a step too far. So I understand it is legal, but I'm not super supportive in the community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stacy.
Hello, Board. My name is Paul Schultz. I had just two comments on two different issues. The one was on the Plymouth Council on Community or Plymouth Community Council on Aging. I think prosperity comes from the private sector. I think it's a good idea to reach out to the people and the members there, see if they would put up donations for the Friendship Station, as well as putting together a advisory panel. I'd like to be a part of that if possible, to see if we could reach out to the multinational corporations throughout industrial parks and local businesses, if they would make donations to help us run this program. It might be nice to see it come from the private sector, not come from taxpayer dollars. Secondly, I would love to ask if there was a member of the board that would ask this gentleman here about marijuana. Is he going to put this issue on the ballot to be voted on in the next couple of years? Would anyone ask?
I'm sorry, the question is he,
Well,
I don't know whether that's his intention.
Right.
But there is, in the city of Plymouth, I think it was last year, there was a group led by an attorney, I think, who was successful in getting petitions and got it almost on the ballot, but there was a technicality, I don't know what it was, so it was removed from the ballot at the last minute.
Yeah, the language was wrong.
Dispensaries?
Yes. I don't know what the technicality was, but it was removed. But they had enough signatures.
Just to, if I can't ask him directly, you have to go through the board. Is his intention to put it on the ballot?
He hasn't told me that.
Well, I was wondering if you guys would ask that.
I mean, to delete our opt-out option and opt-in
Right.
to marijuana. Right now, for everybody's benefit, when the law was passed, or a referendum, was it 2018, Jerry?
Yes.
There was an option, and still is, that you opt out. So Plymouth Township decided to opt out, which meant that no dispensaries or grow operations,
Yeah, there were 5 categories.
could be located in Plymouth Township. And that's what we've been doing.
If you allowed one, you had to allow them all. There was a dispensary, a grower, a tester, a transporter, or a retailer.
Storage, yeah.
No, a storage. I think were the 5 categories.
Yeah, and we do have some houses that are grow houses, but apparently the police have had a hard time controlling that. There's really almost nothing that can be done. When you see a house that reeks of marijuana, has 2 or 3 large air conditioning units and special electrical hookups, that's usually an indicator that somebody's rented the house and is using it as a grow operation. We've had at least 2 that I know of.
And then there's medical, some people have medical licenses.
Right.
They can grow up to a certain amount.
Although medical is dwindling because it's lower cost
Lower cost, yeah.
to
No, you
purchase.
save the tax if you have medical.
The sales tax, or just,
Yeah,
there's more than sales tax on it? It's
whatever
like
the-
cigarette tax?
Yeah, it's cheaper if you have medical.
So is it gonna turn into another big tobacco? I don't know. But, if there's tax around it, that's what encourages communities, especially ones that need tax money in many times small towns that
I think.
sign up for it.
I respect the fact that it was passed by a wide margin in the state. I just don't, I think there's enough dispensaries around within driving distance.
Good point.
That we just don't need them on Ann Arbor Road.
All right, you have some more. I can't answer your question.
Right. The attorney that had going in the city a year ago is going to bring it back, I believe, in the next 18 months. He's going to go out and get the petitions and get them signed to put it back on the ballot. I was just wondering if this gentleman was going to do the same thing to the township.
I think it was just an advisory vote in the city, wasn't it? Because.
Can't remember.
That was on the ballot. I mean,
Pretty sure it was an advisory.
I thought it was more than advisory.
It was for two dispensaries in the city of Plymouth, is what they were going to vote on. I think he had to get 500 signatures to put it on the ballot. I just wanted to know if this gentleman was going to get the signatures to try to put it on the ballot.
Is that your intent, sir?
You have to ask him. Or he may not want to answer. Yes, come to the podium, please.
Wants to open a dispensary.
Currently, our strategy is to open this up to the community and to the board. Point of clarification, you've opted out. When the medical program first came out, respectfully, you had to opt in or out. When the recreational program came in, you were in, then you had to opt out, otherwise you were in.
Right.
You can, as a board, say, listen, we don't want the grows, we don't want the processors, we don't want the facilities. You can opt in and just say, I'm putting in 1 or 2 stores, period. That is your prerogative. That's why I'm here this evening, to open up that discussion of opting in, or at least have a presentation and discussion, because I know when it comes to the community, everyone's going to have an opinion. There's always objection. I appreciate that. I understand that. But with enough momentum, enough time, we draw the support of the positive. To answer the gentleman's question on your behalf, in the last general election, 24,998 people voted. According to the rules, if we create a voter initiative, we need 5%. And you got to make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted so a judge doesn't kick it out. Right now, we have no plan to do that. We're hoping to keep this in an open spirit like we've had in all the other communities that we've successfully opened up and operated in. Thank you.
How many communities do you operate in now?
We're currently in 3 and have plans for 3 more. Plymouth Township being one of them.
Just a quick question, please. The gentleman stated that there was no crime surrounding marijuana, but he has a security system that is top-notch and better than a bank. My question is, why would you need that type of security system if there is no crime surrounding marijuana?
That's a rhetorical question.
And where would you, I have a question, sir. Where are you intending to put this in Plymouth Township?
We explored a few options, but prefer not to say anything because we don't know for sure what the board is going to do or what the community wants to do. If you look at the photos that I provided to you, we're not a box store. We're not coming in from Colorado and just splattering up a bunch of marijuana leaves. Look at the photos. I have extras. I encourage the community to talk to me afterward, voice their concerns. It's a boutique store. Come in, do your business, and
We don't have boutiques in Plymouth Township. We don't have boutiques in Plymouth Township.
We're not bougie enough.
Yeah. We have strip malls.
To answer that gentleman's question, we have a security system because the state of Michigan requires, period. We have a security system just like any cash-intensive business, whether it comes to liquor, retail store, et cetera. Our security system, because of the state's requirements, is extensive, and it's surprisingly foolproof, respectfully.
Okay, anyone else? Otherwise, we're going to end this discussion.
Thank you.
We've had a lot. Totally violated all the rules that MTA, when I went to training last week, they said, absolutely don't do this.
Talk to people offline, is what they say.
Yeah, they said, you're crazy, Kermie. I said, I've been told that before. All right, so we decided we're going to do board comments before we go into closed session. So, start with Jerry.
Okay, I do have a couple of things. One of the things that I have comments on is a letter to the board. I don't want to discuss it. I just want to distribute it to the board, make it part of the record. And then it's for the board to have and to discuss at a later time. Something I think needs to be addressed.
Is each one of these? Yeah, each person gets one packet.
Okay. And then so that's for the board's consumption, and I ask that they read it and.
Is this a shot across the bow against Supervisor Kermie? Yes or no?
It's a factually based statement.
Oh, I find that hard to believe with you.
Yeah. Thank you, trustee, for that comment.
Is this another shot across the bow against Supervisor Kermie?
This is
yes
factual.
or no, Jerry?
This is a factual letter that I'm giving to the board.
Criticizing Supervisor Kermie.
It's factually based. And so it's for the board's consideration.
In your opinion?
It absolutely, and I have.
Or is this a legal opinion? You're holding yourself out as a lawyer again?
No, that's not what this is, John, and
I
you know
see.
what?
You're citing the
guys,
law.
Of course I can't cite the law.
Okay. You're holding yourself out as an attorney.
No, John.
We
listen,
know.
As a legislator, I could discuss any of these things. And that's true. I've done it before, and I'm doing it now, and I'm politely giving this letter for consideration of the board. And I will be asking for results of this letter at a later time.
Has the supervisor seen it before tonight?
I just gave it to him. I just gave it to you.
He just answered, no.
I just wrote it.
Because you didn't answer.
I just wrote it 30 minutes ago, so the other thing I wanted to discuss is that we are finishing up our audit. The auditors will be in the office here next week. We believe that we are ready for that. The finance team has done a very good job, and the Treasury's done a very good job at assisting us. And so we believe we're ready for that, and we believe they'll only be here for just 1 week, and then we'll proceed with that. The other thing is that this week we received, as a result of the National Voter Rights Act, 900 voter cancellations from the state. So we have received those. We are in the process of processing those. It's very time-consuming. It takes a lot of time to take this information, change the cards, authenticate that they are removed or canceled in the qualified voter system. And so we're in the process of doing that. And later this year, we will be changing the precincts and voter locations. We will have to send out thousands of notices because it's required by law. What happens in those instances, as has happened before, we have a return of probably about 10%. So we'll have another, 1,000 to 2,000 responses that we have to address and to authenticate whether the persons are really here in the township. So we have a lot of work to do here in the township, in the clerk's department. And I'm done.
All right, let's go back over here, Bob Dershowitz.
I got nothing.
Nothing. John Stewart.
Very honorable that Lieutenant Kudra has been chosen as one of 5 or 6 police officers in Michigan to evaluate policies, principles, and procedures of other police departments. On May 30th, he'll be down at one of my alma maters, Wayne State University. I've asked him to detail who he is working with to assess the policies, procedures, and principles that a police department should function under. The chief is well aware that I find this very honorable. My cousin, Dr. Noel Boofy, will be acknowledged at the state legislature on June 5th because he was the first executive secretary of MCOLS, the first police officers' principles, policies, and procedures that was implemented in Michigan by Governor George Romney in 1966. This was followed up by just a change in the name. There are even policies on police car chases. But we want to follow the rules. And on another point, I admire our Chief Nitel's self-control, but the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police and the Police Officers Association of Michigan have clearly stated we want no more expansion of marijuana and use and drivers for obvious reasons. And then we have Mary Pine come up here and cite the NIH. I had a cousin doctor who worked for the National Institute of Health. Those are authorities with credibility, and they should be put on record here tonight. Thank you very much for coming.
Jen?
Yeah, I really appreciate, Stacy, your comments on the empirical evidence or the lack thereof. I think most of us would agree that we don't need empirical evidence in the case of marijuana. We have experience, okay? And the experience is my husband's a police officer, and nothing good comes out of that. A. B, I have children who have gone through high school. Nothing good came out of that. And my commitment is to the citizens and to keep us the way that we've been doing things. And, you know, you can quote me on that right now. It's not coming to Plymouth Township.
Well, why
Not
would
on
you
my
want
watch.
to deny her? I think she said her mother who has dementia, it gives her relief.
Well, I like what Mrs.
Why would you
Pine
want to
said. It
deny
needs
that to her?
I'm not denying that, Bob. It should be monitored like Mrs. Pine said, but that's not the majority. I'd be curious to see what the demographics are that come in and out of that, and the police can comment on that as well. It's not 85-year-old people with dementia. They're 1% to 2%. As far as the rest of my comments go, Supervisor Kermey, could you just speak on and just, you know, let us know about, I just had to hear it from Elizabeth Cuddy that she had put her resignation in 10 days ago. I had just had a meeting with her, was making some progress with the Veterans Commission, just to hear her say that she resigned. I'm like, oh, geez, we're back to square one. So can you elaborate? Do we have someone else in mind?
She has indicated on LinkedIn many months ago that she was looking for another job back in September. Professional people always shop for jobs. I wouldn't be as public as her, and we're starting the search.
So we're in the middle of an audit and our finance director is
This
resigning.
happened 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago also, with the previous one who left in the middle of not only the audit, also the budget preparation. So it's the same thing. The search for this, I heard, was very difficult. My judgment is, after being at MTA, I think we'll be able to find someone who will fit into the role. And if they don't, we can prepare the budget. We can hire Plant Moran or somebody like that to help us in the interim. But the audit is probably, the data submission is 90% plus complete. In other words, Plymouth Township's data submission. Now it'll be questions coming back from Yo and Yo, the auditor, that will need to be answered. We have a very competent person, Carol Rashawn, who was in this position once before, 3.5 years ago. Was it, I don't know, was it 2 years ago?
No,
2 years ago. Yeah, the last person was here for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
This person has been here for about 1.5 years. And they're moving to another municipality. So I anticipate that our group, this 3 people, will find the right person, and we are already advertising. And she will leave on April 25th.
So is that the point of contention, that it's not a we, it's the clerk's office and department that's supposed to be finding?
Well, I'll give you
I'm
what.
just trying to get clarification
Well,
from
us
this
3
document
will be
here.
interviewing them, and our surrounding townships, the finance director reports to the supervisor. In smaller townships where it's more accounting related, they report to the clerk, which has responsibility for accounting and accounts payable. If it's a finance director, typically, which is more of a chief financial officer, if you please, that typically reports to, in Northville Township and Canton Township, reports to the supervisor.
But they have a separate accounting department.
Right. So anyway, right now, that's beside the point. We want to get the right person in here and have them operating in a fashion. This particular person was operating from home. I don't think that was completely desirable, but that was part of that was contingent, her employment was contingent upon that opportunity. So Jerry allowed that because he agreed that after 1 year, she would be allowed to do that. She's been here a year. Her anniversary was in October, correct?
Yeah, September.
September, all right, so she's moving on. It's unfortunate that we don't have a backfill, but we're lean, but I think we're gonna do it. The marketplace has changed. There are more people looking for work now than there were 2 years ago, and there are better candidates out there. So the equilibrium has moved to, it's more equilibrium now from the lopsided employee advantage that was there for the last 4 to 5 years. So it's coming back to more what I call a normal relationship between employer and employee equilibrium, and what I like to say. So we're gonna move forward on it, and we're gonna get her done. Mark?
You all set? Yeah, I was actually gonna say the exact same thing. A couple of months ago, I said before, could you please, once a week or something, send an email? And I'm gonna ask you again, respectfully, could you please do something to send an email? Because I didn't know about it, right, until they show it on Facebook, right? They should talk about it before it goes on Facebook. The same at like these retirement communities. It came out on Facebook before we even found out about it. So please, please, please send an email so we're understanding what we can do before it goes out on email. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying, Mark. I believe in the past there's a weekly department head meeting.
Yeah.
And so the supervisor or someone would send that out to the board members just to make us aware of any changes or the status of situations. I agree with what you're saying. And I want to ask once again, because I think it's important, if we could have a study session and allow the senior people to come and tell us what they do and how it's funded so that we have a better understanding, because then, as Paul said, if we want to kind of put a group together to go out in the public and try to get money or whatever, but it's very important because PCCA is running out of money, and if we don't do something, then we're going to have a bigger problem to deal with. So I would just like for us to have this meeting so that we can all become familiar with what the actual problems and issues are.
All right, so we can make it an agenda for the next meeting. Agenda item. We don't need to have a special session. We can do it in a meeting.
And inform the seniors that it's.
Yeah, because the seniors, there would be seniors, I'm sure, who would want to come. And I think it would be good for even them and all of us to better understand that
So
it's
who's going to
multifaceted.
lead the agenda item?
I think that we should have Bobby
Pummel? Yes.
lead that,
Okay.
yes.
Agreed. All right, great. Okay, the car wash that was proposed for the former Vic Tanny Valley site is going to be back next week. They're moving fast. We did not receive any support for it, in writing at least.
One,
One?
I think there was one.
All right.
But there was a template email that went out.
Yeah, there's a group of competitive car washes that don't want more competition, who have hired an attorney and a lobbyist or a group to oppose the car wash. I don't have any opinion on it
Next
yet.
week?
Pardon?
They're bringing it back.
That's what she
next
told me today. They're coming back next week, April
week.
16th.
Laura
They
told you
tabled
that?
it for 3 months.
Yeah, but she said today she told me they're coming back next week.
Laura
April 6th.
did?
Yeah. Unless I misunderstood, I questioned her. I said, that's incredibly fast. And she said, yep, they're on it. You don't have the agenda yet? It hasn't been
We
put
don't
out
get
yet?
it until Friday.
Until Friday, all right. Meyer is moving quickly to start up construction of grading. They're going to move before they have total sanitary sewer and permit, but we've done that for other people, Plymouth Walk, Elks Club, and we just recently did it for Virginia Tile, so they have the full right to get that opportunity to do some parallel action while they wait for the final approvals that are coming from Eagle very slowly. We're slowing our economic development because of permitting at the state and the county, unfortunately. Hopefully, we can fix that. Wayne County Roads, they are offering, when we submit our application by April 18th, $1 million to the township for residential road paving. So we're going to submit a request. About 200,000 of it will be crack sealing for existing SADs that we've done in the past, which is a maintenance item, and the remainder will go towards road projects. We have 6 SADs that were attempted in the last 4 years that failed, so now these are our top priorities. So we'll have to see whether we can get an SAD that will benefit from this $800,000 that'll be left. The question is, do we do one SAD and have a big effect and move the needle, or do we sprinkle it through several?
Yeah.
I have a question on that. An association called me and said that there was money there for associations who spent their own money to recapture it. Is that true?
Never heard that. Plymouth Township has expended for these 6 failed SADs.
Okay.
Plymouth Township expended the money.
Right.
And has not been recovered because the SAD
Failed.
didn't go forward. Normally, you would bake that engineering money into the SAD and the residents would pay. So Plymouth Township expended the money.
Sure.
But not the HOAs.
Yeah. But so any HOA who have voluntarily spent money of their own, can they capture any of that money?
I don't know how you
I
would
don't know.
possibly
I don't
do
know.
that.
I mean, someone asked me that
So
because
what
I
is
know.
due by April 25th?
By April 18th, it was April 11th.
11th, that's what I heard.
It was almost no debt. They gave us 10 days or
Yeah,
less.
no time.
So you gotta tell them how you're gonna spend it?
Not in detail, but you gotta fill out their application. And we are very prepared because we have these previous SADs, which we'll adjust for economics, because some of them are back from 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I wanna have a discussion on that. I mean, I can talk about my neighborhood and I'll be selfish. We had a SAD in 2015 and it was a freaking disaster. And so we paid $5,000 a house and it's all falling apart and it was an absolute unmitigated train wreck.
So the money we get will not be earmarked for a specific SAD.
That's what I'm asking.
It will be variable because we don't know which SADs will be revised and how much, some of the money can be used. We're not doing any gravel roads. That's off the table. Only repair of existing SADs that Plymouth Township's participated in, and that would be the crack sealing, which is EPDM hot rubber that you see all the squiggly marks on the road, and it keeps the water, it delays the inevitable, but it keeps the water from getting under the pavement and damaging it further. So you have a lot of cracks. Obviously, they were longitudinal cuts.
But we should do something that, where the homeowners have to have skin in the game, some sort
That's
of
an SAD.
matching.
Yes, SAD. So they will be having skin in the game, absolutely. We're not going to be doing any 100%ers. They're going to have to cough up money. It seems like 20,000 is the threshold. When it goes above 20,000 per house, they fail.
So we had 6?
6 that failed.
Yeah, because we did the engineering study, right? We paid money for the engineers to say, we think it's gonna cost this much per house.
What were the 6?
Right here, I got them. I'll send it to you. I just got this
Yeah.
this afternoon.
Andover Lakes and a couple other places.
Here's the 6.
So
So we can get into that.
Colony Farms,
Yeah, Colony Farms has tried twice.
yeah, and Andover Lakes, I know, was one of them.
All right, so that's one item. I don't think we have any more that I need to talk about here. And I'll get this to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Can we swear in Callahan right now?
Yes, let's do that. This was an old document that we had.
I didn't realize all those had gone out.
I mean, they failed.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I, you say your name, and then just follow along. Please raise your right hand. I, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the laws and ordinances and policies of the Charter Township of Plymouth, and I will faithfully perform the duties of the Planning Commission for the Charter Township of Plymouth, Michigan, being ever mindful that my service is a reflection on the Township of Plymouth, and I will discharge these duties according to the best of my abilities, so help me God. Congratulations, Commissioner. That one's for you to hang on to. Put that on the wall and tell everybody how important you are. Just sign right here.
Okay.
You're gonna stay consistent with not.
Two phones?
Yeah, one of the township.
You gotta read through this.
All right, we're ready for moving into closed session, and we're going to be talking about the Spars Greenhouse lawsuit against Plymouth Township. Go ahead. Do I need to read this thing, or?
Yeah, let me just get let me find my paperwork here.
Here, right here.
At 8:10 PM, I move that a closed session be called for the purpose of consultation with attorneys in accordance with the Michigan Open Meetings Act, Section MCL 15.268, Paragraph 1, for the following purpose: Section 8, Paragraph 1, Paragraph E, attorney consultation regarding MZY Investments, LLC, Spars versus Plymouth Township.
Second by Vorva, and then we need to roll call. Supervisor Kermy?
Yes.
Treasurer Dorshevitz?
Yes.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Trustee Buckley?
Yes.
Trustee Clinton?
Yes.
Trustee Groth?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart? We're in closed session.
Can we wait to start until about 8:16 or 17? Or?
Motion carries. Mr. Supervisor, I move that we accept the recommendation of the attorney on this issue.
So somebody has a second?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.